You don't need another self-help book. You need a goddamn nap, a grilled cheese, and someone to hold your hand and tell you that your entire personality doesn't have to be a Google Calendar. I swear to God, I used to think I was one journal prompt away from enlightenment. One more gratitude list and I'd unlock my chakras like it was a cheat code. But here's the real plot twist. I didn't become healed. I became exhausted, emotionally hungover from trying so hard to be better that I forgot how to just be. You know that feeling when you close a self-help book and you're all pumped like, yes, I will wake up at 5 a.m., drink lemon water, and reparent my inner child before emails. And then the next morning you wake up at 9:47 a.m. with drool on your chin and existential dread in your throat? That's the self-help hangover. It's when your brain is stuffed with wisdom, but your life still looks like a tangled pair of headphones from 2007. You know too much to be blissfully unaware, but not enough to feel free. You're stuck in that middle place, spiritually constipated. Like, yeah, I've read all about atomic habits, but my real habit is doom scrolling Twitter while lying on the floor like a depressed Victorian child. I have 100 tools in my mental toolbox, but when life hits me with anxiety, I just shut down and rewatch The Office for the 73rd time. And I'm not saying self-help is bad, it's not. Some of those books saved me, but also, some of them gently manipulated me into believing that if I just tried a little harder, I'd be worthy of love. That if I could just perfect my routine, I'd finally feel like a functioning human. That if I just optimized my whole existence like a startup, I'd finally become a person who deserved rest. But here's the hard, sour truth pill. You can't heal in the same mindset that taught you you're broken. And most of us, we don't read self-help to love ourselves. We read it to fix ourselves. We treat our emotions like software bugs. We want 3 steps, 5 hacks, and a downloadable PDF to make our trauma more efficient. Like, hey Siri, how do I stop crying in public without going to therapy? Self-help can trick you into thinking that peace is a finish line, that joy is a productivity metric, that if you're still sad, you must be doing it wrong. But maybe being sad isn't a failure. Maybe your pain doesn't need a blueprint. Maybe you're not broken, you're just tired. You've been carrying the weight of becoming someone better for so long, you forgot how to like the someone you already are. So yeah, read the books, watch the TED Talks, journal your guts out if that helps. But please, for the love of everything holy, don't turn self-help into another reason to feel like you're falling behind. Growth is not a race. It's not a Pinterest board. It's not even a straight line. Sometimes growth is just surviving a day you didn't think you'd make it through. Sometimes it's saying, I don't need to be better today. I just need to be kind to myself. Because no book in the world can teach you how to love yourself in the quiet, messy, in-between moments. That part's yours. And maybe that's where the real healing starts. Chapter 2, The Productivity Trap in a Cute Outfit. Let's talk about productivity, or as I like to call it, capitalism's favorite anxiety kink dressed up in pastel highlighters. Somewhere along the way, we confused being a person with being a project. You wake up and immediately feel behind. Behind what? No one knows, but your brain's like, go, 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 you lazy piece of shit. Someone on TikTok just made 6 figures before 6 a.m., selling spreadsheets about how to wake up at 6 a.m. And you're there, in your crusty socks, feeling like a failure because your to-do list still has shower on it. And it's been 4 days. Look, I get it. I've romanticized the grind. I've made Notion dashboards so pretty they could be framed in a museum. I've made my planner color-coded, stickered, scented, and spiritually aligned with the moon phases. But guess what? I still sat on the floor eating string cheese while my tasks laughed at me from the abyss. Because here's the truth no influencer wants to admit. Being organized isn't the same as being okay. You can have the perfect morning routine and still cry while making your bed. You can write drink water in 5 different fonts and still feel empty inside. Productivity culture sells you this lie that if you just optimize hard enough, you'll finally feel worthy. Like if you just wake up early enough, meditate long enough, eat clean enough, stretch wide enough, breathe deep enough, and manifest hard enough, you'll finally earn your own freaking self-respect. But what if you're not lazy? What if you're just chronically overstimulated and emotionally undernourished? What if all this doing is just a distraction from the fact that we don't know how to be anymore? We don't rest. We schedule intentional recharge blocks. We don't daydream. We vision board. We don't even walk. We hot girl walk. With podcasts, lemon water, ankle weights, and unhealed father wounds. It's like we're not allowed to exist unless we can prove our existence is productive. Like, oh, hey, yeah, I'm tired, but don't worry, I did yoga. Responded to 14 emails, exfoliated my past life trauma, and wrote a novel during lunch. Bro, sit down, eat a sandwich, look out a window, breathe. You don't need to earn the right to rest. You don't need to perform wellness to deserve peace. Sometimes the most productive thing you can do is nothing. And that's not laziness, that's rebellion. You want to know something wild? Half the SHT you're stressed about doesn't even matter. You're losing sleep over inbox zero, when the real problem is soul zero. You're optimizing your time, but ignoring your heart. You're chasing some perfect version of yourself who doesn't even exist, and spoiler alert, if she did exist, she'd probably be miserable. Nobody likes the girl who never takes a nap. So yeah, light your candle, set your intentions, make your little lists. But please, for the love of serotonin, stop believing that you have to become some productivity robot in order to be lovable. You're not a machine. You're not a brand. You're a messy, complicated, beautiful human being who is allowed to exist without constantly explaining why. And maybe, just maybe, real growth starts when you stop trying to be impressive and start trying to be honest. Chapter 3. Your inner critic got a master's degree. So here's something no one tells you when you start your little self-help journey. Your inner critic doesn't die, it evolves. It goes from a loud drunk heckler in the back of your brain yelling, "You suck," to a soft-spoken life coach whispering, "You're still not aligned with your highest timeline, babe." Like what? It used to just be self-loathing. Now it's spiritual self-loathing. Congratulations, you've upgraded your insecurity to premium. Before, my inner voice was like, "Ugh, you're lazy." Now it's like, are you self-sabotaging because you haven't integrated your inner child's abandonment wound and healed your sacral chakra? And I'm just sitting there like, can I just eat this feking burrito in peace? You don't escape self-judgment. You just give it better vocabulary. You give it bullet points. You give it Brene Brown quotes. Suddenly, you're not just sad. You're failing at being consciously sad. You're not just anxious. You're anxious that your anxiety means you're not evolving fast enough. You're like, oh my God, I'm not emotionally regulated. My nervous system is dysregulated. My energy is off. My vibration is low. I haven't journaled. I haven't meditated. My crystals are dusty. My cortisol is high. And I accidentally said yes to plans I don't want to go to. I'm literally failing at existing. It's like your brain becomes a toxic HR department for your soul. Like, hey, we noticed you've been underperforming in the categories of gratitude, presence, and inner peace. We'll be putting you on an improvement plan. You have 30 days to become enlightened. What started as a desire to grow turns into a full-time job of self-monitoring. You don't even know if you're actually doing better or just doing a better job of pretending you are. Because here's the secret sauce of the self-help trap. The more you know, the more creative your shame gets. Now, instead of just feeling bad, you feel bad about feeling bad. You gaslight yourself with positive affirmations. You're crying in your car like, no, it's fine. I'm grateful for this moment. Everything is a lesson. Pain is just an opportunity for growth. While your inner critic is popping champagne because it found a new way to bully you with mindfulness. And I'm not saying insight is bad. Awareness is powerful. But weaponized self-awareness, that'll eat you alive. There is no peace when your own mind becomes a battleground of who you should be. You start believing the goal is to be perfectly healed, perfectly regulated, perfectly present, perfectly productive, perfectly positive. And guess what? That's just perfectionism in a yoga outfit. It's the same shame in a new wig. The only difference is now you hate yourself with nuance. And the worst part? You feel like you can't tell anyone. Because you're the self-aware one, the healing one, the one who gives advice and lights candles and says things like, I'm just protecting my energy right now. So instead of screaming into the void, you scream into your journal and call it growth. And honestly, sometimes that is growth. Sometimes growth is realizing you don't need to be better. You just need to be nicer to yourself. Because no one has ever healed from shame by being shamed into healing. The version of you who needs love the most is the one you criticize the hardest. That part of you that's tired, sloppy, confused, jealous, sad, numb. That version, that's the one that needs the hug. Not the lesson, not the lecture, the hug. Your inner critic doesn't need more books. It needs more forgiveness. So maybe stop trying to fix your flaws like there's some moral failure. Maybe you're not a problem to be solved. You're a person to be held. And no book can do that for you. But you can. Chapter 4. You're not healing, you're hiding. Okay, so let's get real, like ugly cry in the bathroom kind of real. Because at some point in your little self-growth journey, healing becomes this beautiful lie you tell yourself to avoid actually living. You start off with good intentions. You want to work on yourself. You want to grow, evolve, become the emotionally intelligent, green juice sipping, yoga mat owning version of you that doesn't text their ex back. You know, the fantasy. But then something happens. Somewhere between shadow work and inner child meditations and Googling, what does it mean to dream about drowning in my childhood home? You start hiding. And you call it healing. You isolate. You detach. You stop answering texts. You cancel plans. You start saying things like, I'm just protecting my peace, when really, you're scared shitless of getting hurt again. You say, I'm just setting boundaries, when actually, you've built a 14-foot emotional wall with spikes and a sign that says, do not disturb, working on myself until further notice. But the truth? You're not working on yourself. You're waiting to feel ready, waiting to be healed enough, waiting for a day when your trauma won't speak up in conversations, waiting until you're perfectly stable and confident and unbothered before you go back into the world and risk being seen again. Because yeah, it's safe to be alone with your healing playlist and your motivational quotes and your comfort hoodie. It's safe to ghost people and blame it on vibes. But healing doesn't happen in a vacuum. You can't self-soothe your way into intimacy. At some point, healing has to step out of the journal and into real life. You have to take the therapy version of you, the one that says all the right things, and introduce them to real human experiences, like confrontation, vulnerability, disappointment, and awkward-ass eye contact with someone who actually cares about you. You can't out-journal your fear of connection. You can't out-affirmation your way into trusting people. At some point, you have to risk being hurt again. And that sucks, because being hurt broke you, and healing made you feel safe again. So you cling to it like a shield. You say you're still working on yourself, but really, you're just afraid to be seen as unfinished, as flawed, as still bleeding. You don't want anyone to see that you're not fully fixed yet. So you keep your healing private. You polish it. You make it pretty. But what if the whole point of healing isn't to be done? What if it's to learn how to live while you're still messy? What if hiding in the name of healing is just your fear wearing a spiritual disguise? And look, I say this with love, because I've done it. I have ghosted entire group chats in the name of doing the work. I have dodged love like it was a scam caller. I've blamed Mercury retrograde for being a flaky friend when really, I just didn't want anyone to get close enough to see I was still a goddamn disaster on the inside. But healing doesn't mean you wait until you're perfect. It means you show up as you are, broken, whole, confused, hopeful, a complete contradiction. You don't need to be a finished product to deserve connection. You just need to be brave enough to come out of hiding. Because maybe healing isn't about locking yourself in a safe little bubble until you're invincible. Maybe healing is letting someone hold your hand while you're still shaking. Chapter 5, The Toxic Love Affair with Potential. You ever fall in love with a version of yourself that doesn't actually exist? Not in like a yay manifestation way. I mean full-blown delusional, deeply committed romantic obsession with your potential. The ideal you. The one who wakes up at 6 a.m. without checking Instagram. The one who actually goes to the gym and doesn't just pack gym clothes and feel proud about it. The one who reads nonfiction before bed instead of doom scrolling into the void while whispering, just one more video, like it's a prayer. I was obsessed with her. Still kind of am. She's perfect. She's calm. She knows how to say no without sounding apologetic. She makes matcha. She texts back. She flosses. She doesn't yell at her mom. She always looks like she's walking to a creative writing workshop in autumn. But here's the thing about potential you. She's not real. She's a mirage built out of shame and Instagram infographics. And every time you measure yourself against her, you lose. Every time. She is the ghost haunting your present. She's not here to motivate you. She's here to silently imply that who you are right now is a disappointment. She's the dangling carrot that keeps you chasing but never arriving. And we eat that SGT up, don't we? We call it being ambitious. We call it self-improvement. But if we're being honest, it's just spiritual codependency. You've made your whole identity a project. You're never just allowed to be. You're always in process. You're always becoming. You're always working on it. You're dating your future self and cheating on your present one, and it's exhausting. Because no matter how many habits you track, how many books you read, how many planners you fill with intentions, you always feel two steps behind a version of you that only exists in your imagination. And here's the messed up part. You don't even like her. She's miserable. She's rigid. She's never spontaneous. She's so obsessed with self-discipline that she forgets to have a damn personality. She's not free. She's a corporate wellness ad with a nervous breakdown. And yet, we worship her. We think if we can just become her, everything will be okay. People will love us. We'll love ourselves, but what if that's the trap? What if the reason you feel stuck isn't because you're failing, it's because you're chasing someone who isn't real? And while you're busy mourning the gap between who you are and who you should be, life is actually happening. Messy, loud, ugly, beautiful, right now. And you're missing it because you're too busy obsessing over potential you like she's the golden ticket to worthiness. She's not. She's the mental equivalent of a Pinterest board for a house you'll never live in. And listen, I'm not saying give up on growth. I'm saying stop making your worth conditional on becoming someone else. You're not potential. You're a person. You're here, breathing, trying, hurting, laughing sometimes. And that matters more than some imaginary future version of you that doesn't cry in Target. Let her go. Let the fantasy die. Mourn her if you need to. Burn the altar you built to her in your mind. And look at the version of you that's still standing. She's messy, she's late, she's doing her best, and she's real, and that's enough. Chapter 6. Motivation is a liar. Discipline is boring, and you're still here. Let's talk about motivation, that sexy little liar that shows up once a month like an emotionally unavailable ex, makes you feel unstoppable for 6 hours, then ghosts you for 3 weeks while your life falls apart. Motivation is the friend who hypes you up on Friday night like, "You got this, babe," then disappears when it's time to actually do the thing. It's a sugar rush for your soul, a high, a hit, a moment of clarity that evaporates the second you're faced with a task that doesn't make you feel like the main character. And we chase that feeling like addicts. We scroll through videos of people making smoothies in aesthetically perfect kitchens, running at 5 a.m. with glowing skin, journaling in cursive, on linen sheets. And we think, yeah, that's it. That's the vibe. I'm going to change my life. Tomorrow, always tomorrow. And then tomorrow shows up and you're lying in bed wrapped in 3 blankets, negotiating with your bladder because you don't want to get up to pee. Motivation? Dead. Gone. Nowhere to be found. And here's the truth that no self-help influencer wants to admit. Motivation doesn't mean SJT. If motivation is the spark, discipline is the firewood. And guess what? Firewood is boring, heavy, repetitive. It doesn't go viral. Nobody's filming an aesthetic TikTok of you showing up again when you don't feel like it, with no applause, no glow-up montage, no dopamine spike, just you and the thing you said you'd do. Discipline is brushing your teeth in hell. It's doing 5 push-ups with tears in your eyes. It's logging into work when your soul is chewing drywall. It's tiny, unsexy actions over and over again that don't feel magical at all. Until one day, they do. Until one day you realize your life is being quietly rebuilt in the background while your brain still thinks you're failing. And the problem with the self-help world, it sells motivation like it's a lifestyle. Like, if you're not excited to change, you must not want it badly enough. Like, discipline should be fun. Spoiler alert, it's not. Most of the time it feels like trying to fold a fitted sheet underwater while being yelled at by your own inner critic. You know what's more impressive than waking up at 5 a.m. and running a half marathon? Getting out of bed when your mental health is a dumpster fire. Doing one tiny thing while your brain is screaming at you that you're useless. That's the real SHT. That's the grind nobody claps for. And you know what else? You're still here. That's not nothing. You've survived every day you thought would break you. You've carried yourself through mornings when hope felt like a scam. You've moved, even if it was just from your bed to the couch. You've done the boring, brutal, invisible work of existing. You think you're weak because you didn't stick to your habits perfectly. But what if the real strength is showing up imperfectly again and again and again? What if discipline isn't about becoming a machine? It's about becoming devoted to yourself, even when you suck at it. Motivation will flirt with you, tease you, leave you on red. But discipline? Discipline is the quiet love story you build when nobody's watching. And maybe you don't need another hit of inspiration. Maybe you just need to forgive yourself for how long this is taking. And keep going anyway, because you're not starting over. You're starting from experience, and that counts for something. Chapter 7. That one story that broke me. There was this night I don't talk about often because it wasn't dramatic. It wasn't rock bottom. There was no screaming, no ambulance, no poetic meltdown under a thunderstorm. Just silence. Just me sitting on the kitchen floor, holding a spoon and a half-eaten jar of peanut butter, staring at absolutely nothing. And that silence? It was loud, like the kind of loud where your own thoughts echo. I hadn't cried, I hadn't screamed, I hadn't even blinked for like 10 minutes, just still, numb. Not even in pain, because pain would have meant I was still feeling something. And this was something worse, like my soul had logged out, like I was still here but I wasn't in here. You know what I mean? You ever feel like you're haunting your own life? Like you're technically alive but spiritually buffering? That was me. And the worst part, I had everything. Not in a braggy way, just in a this doesn't make sense way. I had the job, the apartment, the daily green juice. I was the person people came to for advice. I knew all the answers. I read all the books. I had the quote unquote tools. But none of them mattered that night. None of the quotes hit. None of the breathing exercises worked. My affirmations were laughing at me. My vision board looked like a joke, and I remember thinking, what if this is just it? What if I stay like this forever? What if this numb, tired, silent version of me is the real me? And I couldn't even cry. I felt like crying would mean something was breaking open. But nothing was breaking, because nothing was moving. It was like being trapped in emotional concrete. And then, this sounds stupid, but my cat walked in, sat down in front of me, just stared, didn't meow, didn't blink, just sat. And for some reason, that broke me. This tiny, dumb animal who didn't care about my productivity or my trauma or my ability to optimize my morning routine just sat there with me. Like I didn't have to earn the right to be loved. Like my existence, however broken and useless it felt, was still enough for someone to sit next to. And I started crying. Ugly, hiccuping, silent crying. Not because of my cat, obviously, but because in that moment, I realized I'd spent so long trying to prove I was worthy of being okay that I forgot that how to just let myself be human. That's what broke me. Not the pain, not the spiral, but the quiet realization that I didn't need to be inspiring to be lovable. I didn't need to be high functioning to deserve peace. I didn't need to be better to be enough. I just had to stop running. Stop hiding behind self-improvement like it was a shield. Stop editing my life like it was a draft that needed another revision. That moment on the floor, that was the first time I felt real in months. Not fixed, not healed, just real. Just me. And maybe that's what healing actually looks like. Not the highlight reel, not the glow up, but the quiet breakdown where you stop performing, stop pretending, and finally just feel. And in that feeling, you start to come back to life. Even if it's just a little, even if it's just enough to pick yourself up off the floor and whisper, okay, one more day. Chapter 8. Self-help doesn't work if you hate yourself. You can't heal yourself from a place of hate. I don't care how many routines you follow, how many affirmations you write, how many self-help books you highlight until your pen runs dry. If deep down you think you're broken, worthless, too much, too lazy, too messy, too loud, too far gone, none of it is going to stick. It's just going to bounce off the walls of your shame like a motivational screensaver in a haunted house. You can't build a life you love while actively hating the person who's living it. And nobody talks about this. Nobody talks about how half the people in the self-help aisle aren't there to grow. They're there to escape themselves, to escape the version of them that cries too often, procrastinates everything, makes the same dumb mistakes, wants love too badly, gets jealous, gets angry, gets needy, gets nothing right. So we go looking for answers, not because we want to understand ourselves, but because we want to replace ourselves, erase the mess, rewrite the personality, paint over the cracks with a pastel highlighter, and call it personal development. But that's not healing. That's just self-loathing in a productivity costume. That's trying to improve yourself the way a bully improves a victim. That's saying, I'll love you after you change, after you lose weight, after you stop being anxious, after you stop making bad choices, after you get your SHE together, after you finally become the version of you that would make everyone else proud. And you wonder why it never works. You wonder why no matter how many habits you stack or how early you wake up or how many times you say, I am enough in the mirror while wanting to punch your own face, it never sticks. It never feels true. Because your self-help journey is secretly just a slow-motion attempt to destroy the parts of yourself you haven't forgiven. And look, I get it. I've been there. I know what it's like to treat growth like punishment. To set goals not because you want joy, but because you want to deserve joy. Like life is a prize you win by being good enough. But that's not self-help. That's self-harm, dressed in positive language. And you can't outrun that pain with perfect routines. You have to sit with it, stare it in the face, ask it what it needs instead of how to shut it up. You have to learn how to say, hey, I love you, even when you're a mess. Hey, I see you, and even when you're failing. Hey, I choose you, even when nobody else does. Because if the voice in your head still sounds like a critic, no amount of progress will ever feel like enough. You'll keep moving the goalpost. You'll keep upgrading the performance. You'll keep being busy and burned out and broken in secret. Because no matter how much you achieve, you still think you're the problem. But here's the truth no book can give you. The problem isn't that you're not trying hard enough. It's that you're trying to grow from a place of self-rejection. You're trying to fix something that was never broken, just bruised, just tired, just waiting for you to stop fighting it long enough to listen. So yeah, go chase your goals, build your life, get strong, get stable, get loud. But don't do it to earn your worth. Do it because you already have it. Because self-love isn't the reward for healing, it's the fuel. And the sooner you stop trying to become someone else, the sooner you'll remember who you were before the world convinced you that being yourself wasn't enough. Chapter 9. Burn the books, metaphorically. If I could go back and start over, back before the vision boards, back before the productivity apps, back before the endless quotes that felt profound at midnight but empty by morning, I wouldn't read 100 self-help books. I'd burn most of them. Metaphorically. Calm down, Kindle owners. I'm not saying knowledge is bad. I'm saying overconsumption is. I'm saying I spent years of my life convincing myself I was transforming when I was really just distracting. You don't need another blueprint. You need clarity. You need honesty. You need to ask yourself, what the hell am I actually doing this for? Because real growth, it's not aesthetic. It's not pretty. It's not neatly organized in chapters and workbook exercises. It's ugly. It's confusing. It's you sitting in your car after a panic attack holding a protein bar like a communion wafer, whispering, okay, I'm not dead, so I guess I keep going. And if I could talk to the past me, the one who was spiraling while highlight marking you are enough in a coffee shop like that made it true, I'd say this. Stop outsourcing your healing to strangers with ring lights. Stop treating every tough feeling like a math problem you need to solve before lunch. Stop using working on yourself as an excuse to delay living your fucking life. I would tell her, gently but firmly, put the books down. Pick your life up. I would tell her, you don't need another morning routine. You need to be okay with waking up and not hating yourself. You don't need more structure. You need more self-trust. You don't need to fix every flaw. You need to hold them. Let them breathe. Stop suffocating your softness just because someone on the internet told you soft means weak. And for the record, most of the authors, they're just as messy as you. They just had a good week and wrote it down. That's not truth, that's content. And I say that with love. I say that as someone who wanted to believe that if I just followed the right formula, I'd stop feeling lost. But guess what? Life isn't a formula. It's a goddamn improv show run by a squirrel on cocaine. Nobody knows what they're doing, not the authors, not the therapists, not the influencers, not even me. We're all just fumbling forward, trying, failing, learning, existing. So if you're out there thinking, I've read everything, I've tried everything, and I still feel broken, I want you to hear me when I say, you are not broken. You are done waiting. You are done believing that your wholeness lives at the bottom of someone else's 12-step program. You're done consuming, done collecting advice like it's currency for happiness. And you're ready, maybe for the first time, to actually live clumsily, softly, loudly, quietly, your way. So no, you don't need to burn the books, but you do need to stop letting them speak louder than your own damn voice. You are the expert on you. You are the author you've been waiting for. And your story starts now. Chapter 10. You don't need a new life. You need to feel alive in this one. You don't need a new life. You need to feel alive in the one you already have. I know that's not as sexy as a reinvention arc. It's not as glamorous as quitting your job, moving to Bali, and starting a smoothie empire called Aligned AF. But it's real. And that's what you're starving for. Real. Not another reset. Not another 30-day glow-up plan. Not another morning where you wake up already apologizing to the world for being human. You don't need to burn it all down. You don't need to disappear and reemerge as your highest self. You need to stop waiting. Waiting to feel worthy. Waiting to be more healed, more confident, more productive, more something before you allow yourself to be fucking present. Because here's the truth. Life isn't waiting for you to become perfect. It's happening right now. Right here. In the mess, in the confusion, in the days where you wake up with puffy eyes and zero motivation and still decide to try anyway. In the tiny moments you dismiss as not enough. That's the life you're missing while you're busy searching for a better one. You're out here treating happiness like it's on layaway. Like it only gets delivered once you've completed your healing checklist and can recite your childhood trauma like a TED Talk. But what if this boring, uncomfortable, beautiful, annoying, miraculous life is already enough? What if peace isn't something you arrive at, but something you remember? Like something that's always been inside you, buried under a pile of self-improvement projects and emotional spreadsheets. You keep asking, what's the next step? And I'm telling you, maybe it's not about the next step. Maybe it's about standing still, looking around, and actually being here. Maybe you don't need a vision board. Maybe you need a F-King mirror. Not to fix what's wrong, but to see what's been good this whole time. Your laugh, your stubborn hope, the way you keep getting back up even when your brain tells you not to. That's the magic. That's the work. That's the life you've been trying to optimize into oblivion. And look, I know it's hard. I know it's easier to keep searching, to keep chasing the next answer. But maybe, just maybe, this is the part where you stop. Not because you've given up, but because you finally get it. You don't need to escape. You don't need to become someone else. You don't need to be more. You need to feel more.